Okay, here's our actual first little piece for the day. Little piece of that stony Northern California reds and yellows. Little Jasper chunk there. We'll get that wet and keep wandering along. Okay, stop to rinse this first one off, and it looks like the very first piece that we picked up here has some beautiful little micro pop in it. I'll try and zoom you in. Beautiful mixes. Then as we get around here, actually I'm realizing this wasn't the piece, it was this one that we picked up on the way over. So there's the overall of it. And we don't have bright light today, we have dim rainy daylight. But look very closely in here. See all the little round orbicular patterning. Again, it's micro pop. If I hold still, you can see it. Through there, the little red and the yellow. Kind of comes up this way. Woo! Okay, back at its close-up zoom. And then, yeah, that original piece, picked up a couple of pieces of cool brachiated material, piece of chert, and all of its wonderful patterning out here. The oranges and the reds and that coming out really cool. And then these are the pieces that we're leaving out of that selection. And they're beautiful pieces of Jasper, but we're just high grading them out at this point. So here's our keeper pile and our lever. So a piece of yellow. Here's the patternings in it. Almost confetti, but just all solid yellows. Different shades of yellows with the burgundy for contrast. And yes, that's the sound of a bridge nearby. It's your access points in the state, or where the public creeks touch the public roads. Look at the red in there. Oh, good stuff. Beautifus. Very beautiful little piece of Jasper here. Little quartz veining going through it, and then the different shades and colors. Oh yeah. I love the fire spectrum. Look at that. Just good stuff. And a mix of lots of little details in close proximity, so any little stones you make out of it will include a lot of patterns and colors. That is good stuff right there. Well, let's go check and see what kind of colors this one has. I think it's one of these very beautiful jaspagates, and it looks a little rough because probably one material was slightly softer. So it's worn that out. It's kind of indented, but let's go get it wet and it'll hint of what's inside. And that's a solid little nodule there, so we'll rinse that one too. So that right there is a winner for sure. Like I said, the surface is rough because it's bruised up and had the softer of two material versions of Jasper worn away. So it looks indented, but if you look at the brachiated patterning in there and the beautiful little highlights of chalcedony blue, I'll try and slow down. I'm always turning it so you can see as much as possible, but oh, look at the reds in there. But yeah, the borders, this clear agate layers along the edges of the yellow, separating it from those reds. And then there's actually just micro details in the reds too. It actually goes through the spectrums of the fire colors in there. So that is a nice little nugget. We're taking that home for sure. Right underneath the bridge, collected this piece of banded jasper in this crazy swirly fire version. Let's look at the banded first. You see a little fine layering in there. It'd be hard to tell in this small of pieces if this was, I'm just calling it banded because I have no way of assuming that that's petrified wood. And you see that little brachiated layer in there, so we can assume that this is just banded. But such fine layering for a piece of jasper. Nice yellow colors too. That's just a tumbler in itself, you know? And then this creature. Let's look at this up close. And it looks just so billowy and plumy, and doesn't have a lot of depth to it, you know, as far as translucency. But come on, the colors and the patterns in there. That's clay still stuck in the lower areas, so it can get cleaned up more. But yeah, that's either polish it up directly in that shape or throw it in the tumbler. It'd be pretty. Oh, and then the hematite inclusions there. And there. And basically all through it. Just pick this one up, and this is literally what we came here for. I know it doesn't look that special. The red ones and the super brights out here will draw your attention. So believe me, let's walk over to the water. Okay, so there it is. Pretty normal, right? Yeah, some browns and some yellows. Or just toss it down. Don't do that. There's a cross section. Look what's in here. Look. Come on, you barely even need to cut that. All the fracturing has been filled in with the most beautiful little mini agates. That blackness there that gives it the depth in the 3D is chalcedonies that are just so clear. That fracturing where it looks like it just ripped and then filled with goodness. Look at the details in there, the mini yellow agates and the fractures. Oh yeah, so that's what's inside that rock. Sweet little thing we can stop and look at. It's Jasper version of chalcedony, but swirling around like agates in amongst itself there. Nice little tumbler. Okay, just collected this crazy little piece of jasper. It's very different colors than a lot of the others that we've been collecting. It's just the darkest salmons and burgundies with white quartz all mixed to it. And the back is pretty plain as far as just being swirls of quartz in different colors. But this front, that's a boom. That's a bright little thing. Something beautiful to look at on this kind of gray day. Nice big old gobber of yellow and gold here, but I'm really loving the golden moss that's surrounding these. Are you seeing that? The fine gold in there. And then what looks like an agate from back here with fortifications, you realize is actually those like plumes of moss with little white nimbus halos around their cloudiness. I never know what the inside looks like, but a lot of great colors, and then awesome chalcedony mix for sure. Yeah, she kind of goes into an orbicular yellow poppy pattern there. So it could just be really interesting things waiting inside. For sure. This beautiful, beautiful red. We're walking through the dry and then coming to the wet to wet these down. A lot of them have clay on them, so I don't know exactly what I got till I get here, but look at the details. Look, that's just crazy. And the red in here. That's what we're talking about. That thing goes all the way through. It is crazy laced. Not crazy laced, but laced with chalcedony. Crazily all through it. Those blues are the blues you're seeing, and the reds are the reds you're seeing. For sure. These two little pieces of the Jaspers here. They're beautiful little colors. Make perfect little tumblers because they're already small and they go through very diverse color changes in a little area. So optimized for getting the most bang for your buck in one little thing. Beautiful little chunkers. And then found this piece, same color scheme. This might even be pieces of them or a nearby layer from long ago. The contrast between the colors and the sharpnesses of their edges next to each other in this stuff is just really, really nice. Easy on the eyes for sure. Here is a nice piece of the red and the yellow contrasting. Be nice to polish the whole thing up, but I like this little lens of an eye that starts skinny there and opens up all the way around the front there. And the yellows on top are nice too. The contrast, of course, but those details were just kind of fun. The fact that both had their own patternings going on together and then so strikingly divided within one rock. Well, I almost tossed this one back twice because I wasn't really seeing what was going on with it, but that what looked like clay stuck in the cracks is actually a nice, beautiful green, kind of mossy patterning. And what looked like dark little black marks are actually almost round, poppy-ish, looking probably hematite inclusions occurring through the whole thing. And then that's in just what ends up being really deep red type of salmon looking background there, all mixed in. I think that's actually some pretty fun material when you start looking at it. Even the salmon has different color textures to it. And all the little black, bluish round areas, the green moss. Didn't look that stunning at first, but it's one of those that'll grow on you when you check out the details type of thing. One of these classic jaspagates out of here. This one even looks like it has some purple to the chalcedony. Oh gosh. These. We're gonna have to get this wet, but that's just ridiculously what we're looking for. That right there. Yep, it's got purples and lacings, and let's just get to the water. Made it to the water with this one. Look at the depth of the translucence in here. You see those plateaus of yellow just diving off down underneath the chalcedony. And the chalcedony is both being backlit by like red down in there. You see it? Oh, there it is. Just beautiful red agate lacing through the whole thing. But it's also stained a little bit purple. You can see it right up at the surface, so it's got some pinkness along with the regular blue. But look at the ripping and the fracturing in the yellow. Do you see it there? Those fine tiger stripes, and then all resilicated. These are like the huge stretch marks in a stone and then filled with silicates. Just beautiful. No matter how you cut this, it will have floating islands and submerged things, and it's got such translucence you can see the pieces underneath it. It's just full on fortified agates in some spots. Beautiful. Perfect example of a Northern California jaspagate right there. For sure. Check out this little chunk of jasper here. Look at all the fine brachiation going all through there. It's got that blue. Look, just a micro agate balloon is climbing up through there, and then you got all the reds, yellows mixing through it. Big fields of deep, beautiful burgundy, like a red lava river, and deltas leading off into it. Just all kinds of goodness. That's gonna look beautiful, the contrasts in that. That's definitely a cutter. Let's pluck this one, a little nugget of jasper with just the mouth of an agate across it, which is making it a cool little thing. I think it'll be just a brilliant tumbler. Look at the reds in there, the edges. That was like a little mouth of druze at one point. You see the crystals, and it filled in with more red on the inside of that. So as that smooths down and you get to the very orange at the edge of the white areas, it goes, what, almost into a, it's either clear black chalcedony there, or so much depth that it's dark and hidden under the iceberg of quartz. But boom, that's a beautiful little jaspagate right there. A couple of these little pieces. You got the yellow and the red going on there. Beautiful. This is really bright, and then how it fades together like it's bleeding into the other. For sure. Okay. Here's another one of these. It's going to be one of the ones we came out here for. You see the color mix, and it'll have all the fine little agates laced into it. And when I say smooth, I don't mean glassy smooth, but see how there aren't crazy crevices and stuff all the way through it. It's just a real high silicate. Let's go get it wet. Just walked down here to clean up this other rock and found this little bit of jasper here. It's got the greens, the yellows, the reds. It's a nice size, a lot of variety. We'll bring that home with us, but let's look at this piece. Oh yeah. See the colors, the nice blending, and then all these little fine fractures in here, which are actually full of chalcedony and agate, making this just absolute jaspagate mix. Oh yeah. The agatry in there. The agatrometry. Ooh, more agatrometry. The geomagnificence of this is just spectacular. I'm loving that for sure. Focus, man. Hard to focus out here. So yeah, it's just beds and beds of jasper, and literally picking through for the special blends that you like. Boom. Okay. Happy with that. And the view. Well, I've just rocked up upon this, and it's one of these that looks real rough on the outside. I can just tell. Well, we'll take it down and get it wet and give it a closer look, but I think that is just a pure nugget of goodness. break it or slice it to really prove it, but yeah, it's got that look like, is this shiny good in there? Here's this one wet, and it is definitely a keeper. Look at the color. It's got that blue, super fine agate. See, there's actual layering to the agates, and just the contrast of the blue, and then you get into the reds at the edge of each of the yellows, and that patch and that color, it just stands out. The back of this, again, is pretty average, but where it's been rendered in half by the river, you can see what's hidden inside. Look at that. So we're keeping that for sure. Good stuff.